Welcome back. This is Youngzers, season two, episode two, I believe. Season one premieres last week.
Yep.
Um, Not much of a packed show for you today. Dan's not here. He's at the Bucco game currently. They're playing at I think 1:30 against the Phillies, series finale. Series tied 1-1. So Dan, we're missing out on Dan right now. So we don't want to get into a big Steeler season preview before he's back. So I think we'll probably do that maybe next week or the week prior to that. I don't
Yeah.
know. But training camp's just getting started. We saw the big news this week was all the players coming into St. Vincent arriving. There's no more flashy entrances or anything like that, it looks like. So we'll get some news going on that, I'm sure, in the coming weeks. Preseason coming up. I think the Hall of Fame games next week
Yeah.
or this week. So that'll be an exciting watch. The Buccos, I think they went 500 this week. Out of their last 10, they're 5-5, so pretty average. And what do you guys say, Andrew?
Hey, training camp's back. This Dan's the Youngsters correspondent. He's probably out the jungle gym in center right field, having a good time. But yeah, you don't see Dan too often down at PNC Park, so he must be up to something down there. But he'll be back next week. The Steelers are here, all quiet on the Penguins, and it's closing in on the trade deadline for the Buccos. I believe Tuesday's the trade deadline, and they've already traded Carlos Santana.
So the first thing, getting into it, we'll just get into Buccos first, since that's who's playing. Um, Trade deadline's kicking off. Big moves are going to be made. We think. I don't know. But so far, Carlos Santana, arguably one of the better bats in your lineup, is now gone, sent to a divisional opponent too. Pirates have been doing that recently for who knows what reason. You saw Quintana last year, and now this year you're seeing Santana to the Brewers. So there was a need there with Rowdy Tellez. I guess he might be out for an extended amount of time, and the Brewers being in a race for the NL Central lead. I mean, there's probably no doubter to get a bat like that. But once again, we're seeing the Pirates not getting a big return. But once again, what are you going to get for a 37-year-old Carlos Santana, he's probably going to just be a rental for this year?
Yeah, you get a lottery ticket for him. That's
Mm.
basically what you do.
So kind of like that Dodgers trade. That's what I've seen a lot of the comparisons to whenever it was at Tony Watson
Yeah.
to the Dodgers, and we got a package that included today what is O'Neill Cruz. So Charrington's taking what looks like a little bit of a gamble there. So he was probably thinking either way, Santana wouldn't have been back. So we'll see what this does for next year. If Choi's maybe going to come back, because we didn't get to see a lot of Choi this year. He was hurt for, I'd say, maybe 80% of the season so far. We just got him back probably
Yeah.
early mid July, I think. He
Yeah.
played maybe a little bit of the first month. I can't remember much after that. Um, but he hasn't been a bad bat. We saw, of course, I think in AAA, him on Indianapolis with Endy Rodriguez as a good 1-2 punch there. So maybe that's what they kind of want to keep going in the lineup. We saw Endy's bat last night, of course, 4 RBIs. One was a bases clearing triple. But what do you think was the big idea with this move of Santana and getting a young prospect?
Well, for what Santana does, he's a clubhouse leader. He's a 37-year-old first baseman who hasn't really been hitting well this year, but his defense has been great. So there's not really much of a market for, a player like that for a lot of big market teams, but you get a lottery ticket. I believe he was Milwaukee's number 2 international signing. First at bat, I believe he's in Bradenton, homered. So the only thing I didn't like about it is they have all these infield prospects. Why get another one?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lottery ticket for half a season of Carlos Santana. So I'm not really too, I'm fine with that. I'm not like angry. I saw people on Twitter like all angry about it. What did you expect to get? You weren't going to get like a Jose Quintana type of return where you get Johan Oviedo and Nunez. That's just not realistic. So you get a lottery ticket. It pans out. It pans out. If it doesn't, whatever. That was basically half a season of Carlos Santana. That's
Mm-hmm.
bottom line there.
I think essentially that's the name of the game for this regime of the Pirates is throw enough shit at the wall and something's gonna stick every once in a while. So this is just another little thing they're gonna throw at the wall. Hopefully something sticks. But I'm not sure. You might know when the deadline ends. I have no idea. Is it Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay, so going into now, Bednar is still safe. I'm not sure if we'll see some movement today or tomorrow before the deadline, or what, Tuesday you said, right? So
Yeah,
they weren't going to trade him last night. We knew that, of course. It was his bobblehead night. That would have been an all-time Pittsburgh Pirates fumble right there. Did you hear the bobblehead played Renegade?
yeah, I heard that. I think I heard that once or twice.
So bobblehead night last night. If that was Bednar's last game as a Pirate, that's a hell of a way to go out. Absolute amazing entrance. If you saw it on social media, if you were down at the game, uh, I watched it again on Instagram. They had nice little coverage of it, and then to get that double play at the end to seal the game, that was pretty awesome. So if that's his last game as a Pittsburgh Pirate, that's how he should go out, kind of. But imagine that kind of energy in a playoff game down the North Shore. That'd be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is a decent return. If you can get a decent return from the Diamondbacks, I think I've seen what's his name, Paft or something. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, Brandon. Yeah,
And then who's that? Can you give you some info on that guy?
yeah, he's a major league ready pitcher. I mean, he's kind of like a Quinn Priester. You know, he's been up here, hasn't really like done too well this year, but it's his first MLB experience. So you get a rotation guy. The other two, I believe, players that were in the rumored package were first base prospect and a leadoff hitter, Dominic Fletcher. So I think in order to move Bednar, they need to be blown away by an
Hmm.
offer. Um, I'm Mitch Keller's been rumored to the Dodgers for one of their top pitching prospects, I believe. So that's one where if you're not going to extend him, and internally, if you think his arm's like not great right now because he has been scuffling for the past month and a half, maybe you do it. I wouldn't understand that move, to be honest. But what I'm really surprised at is, Austin Hedges getting some interest. You get a bag of balls for him. That's a win.
Hmm.
But Rich Hill, he's more than likely to be dealt. I'm surprised he's pitching today. Why would
Really?
why would you pitch him before the deadline? Like he gets hurt today, you're screwed.
Who
He
else
get
you got?
I mean, you call somebody out.
Or at
Use
least have a bullpen game or something.
use an opener. You don't do like are you trying to showcase Rich Hill? He's old as hell. What are you showcasing him for? Like any team knows what you see is what you get from Rich Hill. Why risk an injury? Like freak injuries happen, in any sport. I think we were talking about that last night. Former Pirate Justin Wilson played for the Reds. He had Tommy John surgery. He made his comeback this year, and he was getting ready to make his season debut with the Brewers on Friday night.
Hmm.
He's in the bullpen. The coach goes out, pulls the pitcher. Wilson throws his last warm-up pitch, and just freak injury hurts his arm again. Like that's what I mean. Like it's one pitch, and you're warming up in the bullpen, and your career's basically over. So why
Yeah.
throw Rich Hill today? That just doesn't make any sense. I'm surprised if there's trade talks for him. You just hold him out for what's one missed start going to do for his trade value? Nothing. You're
And who
risking.
knows? Maybe something could happen between now and I don't know 1:30.
That's
Who
what I'm saying.
knows?
On Twitter, yeah,
But like once again, it's not like you need to showcase Rich Hill, especially against a team like Philly. Maybe it might even tank his value a little bit because let's be honest, Rich Hill's throwing 70-mile-per-hour curveballs. That's about it. So Philly has some big bats in their lineup. It doesn't take much to break up in a game like we saw last night. They hung up 5 runs pretty quick, or 4 runs pretty quickly on Priester in that one inning. You got bats like Harper, Schwarber, Trey Turner in there, Castellanos. It's not to play around with. So
yeah,
that's a very potent lineup. I know they're probably not having the best season, and Harper's still a little hurt, but he had Tommy John too. He's playing first base now, so
yeah.
that's kind of crazy. But we'll see. Maybe they're trying to get one last good start out of him. Maybe a gamble, like if he has a good start, if he's looking good, because I don't know.
I mean, I think either way, if he has a good start or a bad start, it doesn't hurt his trade value. Like a team's not gonna base the return on Rich Hill off of one start before the deadline. Like you've seen him all year. You're just risking an injury or just something
Mhm.
dumb.
So
That's
what
what
do you think they'd even get out of him?
I mean. Maybe like they did with Jose Quintana last year. Maybe a couple lower end prospects. You got to remember.
I say like Oviedo. No way, an Oviedo kind of player.
Well, Oviedo wasn't like he remember his first MLB start was against the Pirates. He got
Mhm.
shut. So teams overpay at the deadline. If they're in contention for a World Series, Rich Hill's a guy that can eat innings. He's not going to be relied on as a top starter like he is here in Pittsburgh. He's a bottom end rotation guy or even like a bullpen guy, eat a couple innings here and there. Teams that have good farm systems can kind of overpay a little bit for that. You look at what the Rangers just traded for
For
Matt.
Scherzer.
They traded Acuna's brother to the Mets, one of their top prospects for Scherzer, and he's making like 40 million next year. Scherzer, and he bought in, so he's there next year. And
They'll probably trade Verlander too next.
yeah, and you look at what the Angels paid for Lucas Giolito. Their farm system's horrible, and they gave up two of their top prospects.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at
say Ohtani's going to stay there for at least this year.
Yeah, so you look at like teams at the deadline. As Pirate fans, we think like, all right, we need to hold on to our top prospects. You don't see them dealt. These other teams where they're going to be spending money in the offseason and their farm systems are better, they can, a couple mid-tier prospects for a pitcher like Rich Hill's like nothing to them. But it's like the Pirates think it's, hitting the lottery when you get something for that. So maybe, a double A and a single A guy or something for Rich Hill. I don't know. I think it wouldn't be just like a 1-for-1 swap. They'll probably, there's a lot of teams calling, you got to remember too. There's a lot of interest in them. So they kind of bid against each other at that point. And some teams are dumb. Maybe one will overpay for him. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know who would even want him. Like, who do you think? Red Sox? That's the only one I've heard, but I don't even know if they're in contention.
I don't think the Red Sox. I mean, I could see the Rangers aren't done. You look at the teams that want Mitch Keller, the Dodgers and the Rangers. I've been looking at them. It's those kind of teams where, all right, he's not going to be, like I say, he's not going to be like a
sixth guy.
Yeah, sixth guy, a bullpen guy that are looking to solidify the rotations for the playoffs. Because you see the starters, they don't go too long in the playoffs. I mean, those are a lot of
4 innings at best. Like, you saw, what was it, Snell in Tampa that one game? Like, they didn't want him to go farther than 5, or is that he got pulled when he was absolutely having he was dealing that game, and they pulled him and ended up losing, I think, the World Series.
Yeah, so that's what you got to remember. These teams, they have these plans where a guy like Rich Hill can actually fit in pretty nicely for, all right, have him in there, throw a couple innings or make a spot start. Those are the guys that are pretty valuable. Like back when the Pirates were in contention, they had Vance Worley. You remember him. He had the goggle on the mound. He was a spot starter and he ate innings. That's kind of what Rich Hill's going to do for a contending team if they want him.
So you're paying for maybe 4 good games.
Yeah, you're basically paying for insurance. Like if a team's getting Rich Hill, that's basically that veteran experience and insurance. Yeah.
Okay. So Bednar, do you think he's gone?
If they're blown away by a deal, I think he is. And I think obviously the big reason people here are attached to Bednar especially, and I like David Bednar, but he's from Pittsburgh, so that that has more of a connection to fans. But look at what the Pirates have done in the past. It went from Matt Capps, Joel Hanrahan, Jason Grilli, all these closers that they have.
Velasquez.
Yeah. They trade them and get decent returns more often than not for relievers. And that's a premium position for contending teams like the Diamondbacks or, the Dodgers, whoever. And the Pirates, you hate to say it, like if Bednar wasn't from Pittsburgh, people would be saying, all right, deal him. And people, I've seen tweets saying that's Cherington, the first guy they got in the rebuild that's been good. They got him from the Padres. But what use do you have for him here when he's pitching once every 4 or 5 days at the point? If you can get 3, if you can get blown away by a package of prospects, you got to do it.
And you got to think a team like the Diamondbacks, who I wouldn't say they're large market. Would you say they're small, like mid maybe?
Medium market,
so
yeah.
It's not too far off in that's a contending team either. So they might be willing to overpay because they're saying, hey, we're in this position. This doesn't come around too often. Like, we're not the Yankees. We're not like the Rangers. We're not the Astros. We're not the Dodgers. Like, this is our chance. We're willing to overpay. We're willing to sell the farm just to have a chance at the World Series. Because, I mean, look at the Pirates. It might be another 10, 15 years before they even have a chance like this again. So they've built pretty much their whole team from the bottom up too, I'd say, right?
Yeah. And, you look at how the Pirates have traded their closers. They've done well. Their middle relievers, the one I keep looking at's Ben Cherington trading Clay Holmes to the Yankees for Hoy Park and Diego Castillo. That's horrible. For a lefty reliever that's pretty much a lockdown, that was an embarrassing return to get. So you need to be blown away by a trade proposal if you're trading Bednar. Nothing for a crap return like that's turned out to be.
So who do you think Bednar does get traded? Do you think Holderman moves into that closer spot?
No.
Or is it Moretta?
It might be just closer by committee.
Okay.
Because I don't trust Colin Holderman at all. I mean, he's pretty erratic. Look at last night. Bednar threw 1 2/3 innings to close the game out.
If I was the manager, I think the guy that I'd choose is Moretta. He gives you that solid 1 inning. In my eyes, every closer needs that one pitch, or every reliever needs that one pitch, and nobody can hit. And I think I saw something on Twitter like the most unhittable pitch in baseball is Dauri Moretta's slider. So he's got a beautiful slider. He's got the energy. That's another thing you need. Colin Holderman doesn't really have that it factor yet. I don't know why. He's still young. I think he'll be a solid reliever for the Pirates. Maybe. Who knows? Because they've been getting hits on him too. He won't be as nearly as good of a return as the other pitchers, but I don't think they wouldn't trade him. Do you think?
Holderman, probably not. He's under.
Because they just traded him. They got him last year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of control. I think still they traded Danny Vogelbach for him. So I really don't think that they'd already give up on that already. So
yeah, and like you said about closers too, you got to have that it factor. Like you have David Bednar, who's like a bulldog on the mound. And then, you look back at like closers that are like that. Like they have that unhittable pitch. They have that confidence. One of the ones always cracking up was Fernando Rodney. Do you remember him? Like the Mariners. He'd be the one that have his hat on like this basically. And like, and then like he'd do the arrow celebration and stuff. Like they're just a different breed.
Who's the guy from the Athletics? So just come out like just pissed off. Like he was just very like angry. Who was that? It was like during their like playoff run. Here, I'm gonna look it up. Is their playoff run in like maybe 2010 to 2012? I don't know.
Balfour.
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
He was just like very angry for like no reason. He'd like come stomping out, like swearing while warming up and like throwing the ball. Yeah, that's the kind of energy you gotta have. You gotta be able to throw like missiles for like just 3 pitchers, or 3 batters. But yeah, we've been seeing Bednar go in 2 innings lately. That's been the theme for the past 2 weeks. I think he's only blown like 1 save all year, maybe 1 or 2, but he's saved like 16 games in a row. He's definitely the most consistent pitcher the Pirates have. He's very locked down. The only thing is recently he's been getting more runners on base. That's a little shaky.
Yeah.
But you'll have that. He still gets out of the innings. He's been letting up a couple more runs here and there too. But other than that, still great piece to have. How long is he under control? 2026?
I believe so, yeah.
So they got a couple more years of that if they decide to keep him.
Yeah.
If not, I guess they'll strike when the iron's hot. I don't know.
Here's a Ben Cherington quote from a minute ago on 93.7. He's talking about Henry Davis. He said, assuming he's healthy, I believe we'll see him behind the plate after the deadline. So that's basically saying Austin Hedges is going to be gone.
So what do they do with Rodriguez then?
Well, Endy will play, like they'll like,
he'll be those 2.
Yeah. Okay. And then, if Rodriguez is catching, Davis is in right. If Davis is catching, maybe Rodriguez is at first and they go with, a Palacios, whoever, someone in, who knows, but that's interesting. That's basically kind of saying, all right, Hedges is going to be gone for a bag of baseballs, which is whatever.
What do you think that the return would be for Hedges? Like 1 single A, maybe?
Yeah, that'd probably be another like lottery ticket trade. You'd be lucky to get anything for him. I don't know why a team would even trade for him, to be quite honest.
They need someone to frame pitches.
I mean, yeah.
The only pitcher, he doesn't throw anybody out. They always say he has the best defensive stats. But whenever the only pitcher that wants him to throw to is Rich Hill. Yeah. And who are you going to throw out whenever Rich Hill has the longest windup, and then 70-mile-per-hour curveball? by the time the ball gets to the glove, like the guy's already halfway to second. Hedges doesn't really have the arm to throw anybody out at that point. I don't think many people would, to be fair to Austin Hedges. But it's just I think he's run his course. He was what we expected him to be. Um, just not a just not a good fit for the Pirates where they're at right now.
Yeah.
So you can't be sacrificing a bat. That's basically with the new rule of the DH. The Pirates didn't really take advantage of that this year for the most part because batting in our basically
Nine
DH thought was the
pitcher.
nine
Yeah.
guy Hedges. So he was basically batting maybe a little better than a starting pitcher would. I think he's batting like 150 for the most part of the year. Uh, but I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll see a big shakeup by the time we talk next week.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm actually gonna be at the game on Tuesday, so that'll be the first ever game that I'll be at where like hug watch will be in effect. I have to be like watching the dugout, see who's hugging each other if someone gets traded or something. But
That's a
yeah,
good game to be at. Tigers, if they were to win a series, it'd be that one, I guess, right? Two
yeah,
game series in Pittsburgh.
yep.
But let's take a look at what they did this week. So I forget if we talked about this or not, but last Sunday would have been when they played the Angels, I believe.
hmm
Pirates Angels. So that might have been the last game we talked about. They lost a series to them. Then the Padres came to town. That was an interesting series, nonetheless. So that was the Pirates' first series win since the last time the Padres were in Pittsburgh, which was, I think, the end of June, maybe early July. I don't know. So, uh, not much to talk about there, but the interesting thing was whenever I think who hit the home run? Was it Soto or Machado?
Soto hit
No,
it, and
Soto hit the home run.
Perdomo nailed Machado.
Yeah, so that's the big controversy was how hard I guess Tatis and Machado and Soto were pimping that one home run, and obviously Angel Perdomo did not take kindly to that. Which the most embarrassing part about this is not that he got suspended, is the 98-mile-per-hour fastball he threw at the back of Manny Machado, obviously being intentional because it was the hardest ball he's thrown all year and also probably the most accurate. So he's suspended for 3 games. Shelton ended up getting suspended for 1, and then that kind of set a precedent for what happened in the Cardinals game. I think the next day or 2 days later with what's his name, Mustakis, or I forget his name, Nicholas. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little interesting stuff there. But the Pirates win that series. So that was exciting. And then today's the rubber match, of course, after the Phillies series, which the Pirates came back and kind of won last night. Or no, they didn't come back. Yeah, they did because it was what
Yeah,
4-1.
yeah, they won 7-6. Yeah,
Who hit the home run? Pagero.
Figueroa hit a homer. Yeah,
Pagero hit the first home run. Then Andy Rodriguez was a hot bat yesterday. He had 4 RBIs, bases clearing triple. I think Choi might have had an RBI as well.
maybe. I know Andy Figueroa.
Yeah, so Andy Pagero, all the young guys. No, it was all the young guys. So Alika Williams had one.
Yeah,
Pagero, of course, had the home run, and then Endy had 4. So all the young guys had RBIs, nothing from the older crew, I guess you could say. But a little shame for Mitch Keller. I feel like his stats or win-loss ratio, you should couple more wins because Friday night he pitched. And if you get 2 runs scored on you by the Phillies and end up losing, that's just bad luck.
Yeah.
That's the theme of the year. You can only have 2 of the 3 things at a time if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates. You either have good starting pitching, good bullpen, or run support. The other night just wasn't run support. So, you're never going to get all 3. And then today's a rubber match, and they have arguably their best bat out of the lineup. So we have Palacios playing in center instead of Sawinski. I'm not sure why that's happening. The only logical, I think, explanation you can have for that is that it's Palacios' birthday today, so maybe he's getting like
yeah.
a bone here. I
I
don't know, just questionable management decision, I guess, whenever your best bat isn't even in the lineup.
I mean, at least for Palacios' birthday, they have him in the lineup. You could be like the Packers. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, it's that dude's birthday, and then like 10 minutes later, it's the Packers have released.
Yeah.
I remember his name.
Wishing him happy birthday, and then like an hour later, it says like we've released.
Yeah, that's a tough scene, honestly. Can't be doing that. No. So today's, like you said, the last Rich Hill matchup that starts in about 20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah.
But I just want to ask you real quick. I don't know if I told you or I asked you yesterday. How many players from the Pirates do you think have progressed this season?
I
How many?
mean, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. Aside from Sawinski, not counting the young guys they're calling up because it's too
Yeah,
early to like judge. None
the
really.
guys that were here last year full
I
time.
mean,
You know,
Mitch Keller, first half, maybe. That's about it though.
but he's gone backwards. I think since then. A little
Yeah.
bad luck, maybe. Taking a step back since the All Star break. Maybe it's a little All Star. You know, some players go to the All Star game, All Star hangover. But like they said, most of our players are first year players. I see a lot of people talking about it, like Sawinski's the only guy that's improved since last year.
Mm-hmm.
But look around what the guys that are here are working with, though. It's all veterans. Like, are you gonna expect Santana to improve?
No.
Hutch, you know, what are they asking for? Sawinski, of course, yes, he's gonna improve, but they're asking like these pitchers to. But these starting pitchers, they have young players around them, you know, like defensive struggles here and there. Like we saw Henry Davis still bobbling balls in right field, left and right. But I don't know. I think pitching's very hard to judge like on a year to year basis. Like you could say Keller had a good year last year, but I think he's had a better year this year. His stats just don't show it. Um, I don't know. It's tough to decide. Swinsky's definitely the clear cut most improved, I'd say. But you can't really judge the team as a whole because of the constant, or not constant, but the recent just absolute shift of player personnel that they have on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like look at the opening day roster and then look at today. It's not the same whatsoever.
Different.
I think there's only maybe, let me think, two players on the opening day roster that were starting today, maybe, or three.
Maybe.
Reynolds, Sawinski, and
Maybe.
Hedges, maybe just because he's starting today. But I can't even count him anymore because he's not even the starting catcher.
No, and you look at how many injuries they had. You know, Hayes is always hurt. O'Neill has
Cruz
been
is
hurt.
hurt.
Marcano
Santana's moved.
tore his shit. You know, G-Man Choi's been hurt. They've had pitching hurt all year. Brian Reynolds has been playing hurt. I mean, it's just been, it feels like it's just a lost season.
Yeah, that's another thing I want to get into. So their Pirates management saying, "Oh, we don't want to rush O'Neill Cruz back. He's hurt. You know, all this stuff. Like we're not rushing him." Of course, yeah, sure. Like I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So if Brian Reynolds is hurt, why is he out there? It's like to me that's the same thing.
Yeah, but not as badly. I don't like his is probably like, and this is all speculation, like a 50-50 injury where he can probably play through it. Like, you know, major leaguers want to play through injuries and stuff. He might be on that one where, you know, he was probably better served. Maybe he hits the IL for a couple weeks, and that was back then. But if he feels like he can play throughout the year and give, you know, it gives them a better chance to win, then that's probably what he's pushing for. You know, he's not a guy that's going to try and take games off or anything like that. Brian Reynolds is a competitor. You know, he's a competitive guy. He wants to be out there, and maybe he's just telling them, like, hey, it's manageable. They're trying to manage it as best as they can. You know, you see that in hockey a lot, you know, guys playing, you know, trying to play through stuff. I think that's what's going on with Reynolds. Like, you can tell something's wrong with him, but he doesn't want to come out of the lineup. And he probably feels like, all right, I just signed this big deal, you know, like I got to be out there playing, you know, even if I'm not 100%, it's something where it's not bad enough where he has to hit the IL for a couple weeks, but he has to like play through the pain. That's what I'm seeing from just trying to
Do you
run.
think this year is kind of like a fluke for him and he'll be back better next year?
Yeah. I mean, look at the beginning of the year when he was healthy. He was raking. You know, something's clearly wrong.
And he's still like it's not he's not horrible. Like I'll say that. Like he's getting a lot of flack, like worst signing in team history. He had a home run this week against the Padres. That I think that was like pretty clutch home run that sealed one of those games in the series. But I wish they just be more transparent about it. If he's hurt, like what's the point in saying, hey, like, you know, Brian's having some difficulty with this or that. It's not like hockey where you can target like an injury of another player. It's baseball. So like what's the big harm in saying, yeah, he has like lower back tightness all year, you know, something like that.
I don't know. Pirates fans in general are just pretty well, you have to be like pretty sick in the head to be rooting for them every year thinking they're going to win. Like we watch them because they're a Pittsburgh sports team. We want to see them succeed. But it's the same group of fans on Twitter that were saying if the Pirates don't extend Brian Reynolds, this is the beginning of the year. It's the same like little beehive on Twitter. If they don't extend Brian Reynolds, like this is a trash organization. And now they're on Twitter like, I can't believe they gave Brian Reynolds that much money. Like that's a bust of a contract. Like it's just like a hive mind of clowns that like tweet that stuff through. It's Pirate fans.
Yeah, I think that's every organization though. Every fan base has those. But they're very much so magnified with the Pirates, I believe, because one of them, they all feed off each other, and then everyone shares certain thoughts, and everyone jumps to conclusions, and everybody, it's like doomsday every day for the Pirates. But I honestly think those people enjoy like that part of being a Pirates fan. There's fans out there that just love like being able to complain after they lose or being able to say, "Oh, he's a bust," or like Pirates fans enjoy that for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, Phillies today in about 20 minutes. And then next week we'll talk about, let's see, they got the Tigers and then a big series against the Brewers. If they can win today and then take two against the Tigers, because the Tigers are right there with the Pirates. I believe the Pirates might be a little above them. I'm not sure. But that could be a 3-game win streak. And then whatever they do against the Brewers, say they take 3 out of 4. Hey, they're right back in it. They're only 10 games back.
Yeah, that's scary to think about.
But the only thing is after that, the week after they have the Braves. So, that's 4 games. And then a lot of divisional opponents at the end of August and through September. That's all it is. Because we still haven't seen much of the division to this day. That's Pirates talk, though. You got anything else on them?
No, a little bit of Steelers, nothing on the Penguins front. The only thing I want to talk about today for the Steelers, training camp started and they made a notable signing yesterday. Quan Alexander, inside linebacker, previously played for the Jets. He's more of a coverage linebacker. He's pretty athletic. So that inside linebacker group's been totally revamped from last year. You have Cole Holcomb coming over from the Commanders, Landon Roberts from the Dolphins, Mark Robinson's still here, young guy, and then you have now Quan Alexander in the mix. So you got a nice mix at inside linebacker of athleticism. Holcomb and Landon Roberts were kind of the 1-2 punch, bringing a different skill set to the position. Now you have Quan Alexander in there as a coverage guy, and Mark Robinson, who is just a thumper. The young guy loves to hit. He'll be good on special teams. So they're making moves, on the defensive side to try and find. Ever since the Shazier injury, they've never really had an inside linebacker group that's come together. They've signed a lot of free agents. None of them have really panned out at the inside linebacker spot. Miles Jack being the most recent last year. So that'll be another training camp thing to watch. You got 4 guys now at inside linebacker, and then backing that up, you have, I believe, Tanner Muse, who they also signed, a good special teamer, and Nick Kwiatkowski, who's a local guy, played college at West Virginia, played for the Bears. So there's a lot of guys in the mix there, but you're adding competition. So hey, that's what it all comes down to in training camp.
Alexander could be one of those like sneaky pickups too. So he was a former Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
And would you consider him a veteran at this point?
Oh, yeah.
2015, so about 8 years in the league. Yeah. Former Pro Bowler, and then after that, he's kind of had a couple freak years of injury, like torn Achilles, torn pectoral, kind of just down on your luck. And even after like an Achilles injury, you do play like 2-3 seasons, you still might not be 100%. The Achilles or something like that, that takes a couple years, like even if you're still playing, to heal up. So if we could just, like the Pirates try juice that little bit extra out of those, veteran players, like he could be a big pickup. Help them out a ton. Like I think that the defense has gotten way better. Last year they were good, but I think they're gonna have full year TJ hopefully again. Who knows? Highsmith signed a big contract, good for him. But I feel like they revamped the whole defense. It's gonna be looking good. Joey Porter Jr. Welcome to the league. Do you see George Pickens? Definitely pass interference, but put him on his wallet. That was pretty funny.
Did you see the second part of that?
No.
We had our first chain snatch of the season. He snatched Joey Porter's chain too.
Oh, really?
Like
Ripped it off.
you can't be snatching your teammate's chain in training camp. Like I love that. Like Porter Jr. and Pickens are dogs. They're both, I think, going to be really good. But you just can't be busting out the chain snatch in training camp. That's what you do in the regular season. That's just disrespect on the teammate scale there.
Yeah, that is funny though. So we'll get more Steelers coverage coming up. Kenny Pickett not looking horrible, I guess. You're still just seeing kind of Joe Flacco isms out of him. But good to see him go deep the first play, I think of what was it, sevens?
Yeah.
Or sevens, I think. So they're going deep, but the big news out of that is I think I saw, I forget who tweeted, someone covering training camp tweeted there. He ran like 4 or 5 jet sweeps. So, Matt Canada's back at it again with the jet sweeps. Yeah, that's like first day already breaking them out. That's just absolutely wild to me. I don't even know what to say at this point. If I see one jet sweep in the first 2 drives of a preseason game, I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
No, no, but no. The last thing I want to touch on is defense for the Steelers. There's we talked about inside linebacker a little bit ago, but the slot corner positions wide open too. They've been running a lot of guys there: Duke Dawson, Elijah Riley, Patrick Peterson, Chandon Sullivan. So that's another competition to look for. I think Patrick Peterson's gonna be moving around all over the defense, and one guy I'm excited to see. Well, two guys actually, the two Wisconsin rookies actually. Nick Herbig. Nate's the
Hmm.
one offensive line. Nick Herbig's, I guess, been
He's a
looking good.
smaller one, not the lineman. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been looking good. And Keanu Benton's probably going to be seeing a lot of run this year. So the inside, that interior of the defense, I think they've revamped. Braden Fajeko's coming in, and they got another. I forget who else is in the mix there, but I like that they have the competition, keep everyone playing at the highest level, that kind of thing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the defense. A lot of those young guys, the corners, Corey Trice Jr. I believe he was their 6th or 7th round pick this year. He was grading out around a 2nd to 3rd round prospect. He had a little bit of a concerns about his knee. He's the same build as Joey Porter. They're both tall,
Hmm.
athletic, long cornerbacks. That's what you need in the league now. So I think a lot of these rookies are going to be seeing some run on defense and surprising some people this year.
I think in general the Steelers could surprise, the whole division. The whole division, all they really did was revamp their offenses, which rightfully so. They got 2 fantastic quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. So like obviously, sure, go ahead. But I think the Steelers, like, they're kind of, I don't know, matching that with how they've revamped their defense and how obviously we already have big pieces on that defense. So that might be the little counter that they have for them. If your offense is, average to above average, a good defense is going to keep you right there. But the offense is no slouch either. It's looking like Allen Robinson,
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett are having great chemistry. Some good catches across the middle. But Allen Robinson, if he comes back to what he was even slightly before,
Yeah.
I know he's had some bad luck with quarterbacks. And looking at it, he's never really had that great of a quarterback. Going back to his days in Jacksonville with Blake Bortles, Chicago with who knows, probably Mitch Trubisky somewhere in there. I think a Nick Foles year mixed in, Andy Dalton hiding in there somewhere, and then Stafford last year, right?
Yeah. And yeah.
Stafford, whoever else, because Stafford's arm was hanging off his shoulder or his rotator cuff, so who knows. But if Allen Robinson can be what he was, nice tall target, so taking looks away from other people too. So, yeah, Calvin Austin coming back too. The receiver room's looking good.
Connor
Uh,
Hayward's going to be everywhere
yeah,
he's been looking good. So they got options. I think they're flying. I honestly think they're flying under the radar this year, the Steelers. There's no drama there. They've locked up the guys. Highsmith signed that big deal. They're keeping quiet. I think they're putting in the work, and I think they're going to surprise some teams this year.
yeah. So they're. I've kind of seen it on Twitter and stuff. Some guys picking their dark horse. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll get more news coming out of training camp probably this week. And then we'll probably have a bigger breakdown next week when Dan comes back.
Yeah.
You got anything else on the Steelers?
No, that's honestly that's mostly what I have for today. I was gonna do my Jag of the week, but I already said the Packers organization wishing a happy birthday to a guy and then cutting him a couple hours later. That's just bad business right there.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't really have much more on the Steelers. I'll be watching though what they're doing. I'll be following training camp, seeing what's going on. Hopefully no fights yet, which is weird. I haven't seen any fights, I don't think.
Just the chain, like one chain snatching.
Yeah, there's usually a couple fights mixed in there, but I feel like that's just good competition between Pickens and Porter. That's really no serious bad blood. That's just like two guys like goofing off, like playing football.
I did see a good training camp scrap yesterday. I forget what team it was, but all I remember is his number 54 came in and like slapped somebody and then ran away. And then like everyone else was like getting into it and he just like ran away from the
Was
whole.
it the Chiefs? Travis Kelsey got into something.
I saw Travis Kelsey. I forget what team it was. Like it was funny that he like slapped somebody and then ran away, and then there was a nice little skirmish going on. But no, nothing really there. So yeah, just gonna get ready to watch the Buccos and have a good Sunday.
Yeah, the Buccos come on in a couple minutes. Side note, I know they've had a horrible year, but I'm still having a good time watching them. I know I say that like every week, but yeah, I think it's better baseball than last year. They're only on track, maybe 3 games above where they were last year to this point.
Yeah.
But the product is at least better. I will say that for the most part.
And like the big difference is this year, okay, they're 3 games ahead of where they were last year. But a lot of the players that are here this year are guys that are going to be here for the next,
Yeah, they're not going to be. It's not going to be like, hey, It wasn't like we didn't improve because you can't set a benchmark for two different teams. Like
yeah,
how many players that are playing right now are playing last year? Honestly, Sawinski.
yeah,
Let's say Sawinski and then Keller.
yeah. Like you look, they have the young guys that, all right, this is the next wave where they're going to try and make a run. Last year, it was guys like, oh, we have Josh Van Meter and Michael Chavis hitting 3 and 4. We knew those guys weren't going to be here this year. It wasn't fun to watch them because you were watching that team knowing like, okay, this is just like a 1 year thing where they're only going to be here for a year. Now it's okay. We get to watch Endy and Henry Davis and
Mhm.
Peguero, Nick Gonzalez, these young guys that'll be here for ideally the next 3-4 years at the minimum. Where okay, we can watch them progress and get to enjoy that hopefully. Whereas all right, like last year, it's just like all right, it's just a bunch of random scrap thrown together that we knew wasn't going to be there for the future. So you don't really care about that.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to find is the starting lineup from last year. So this is what we're looking at. This is the Pirates last year. Starting catcher Jason DeLay. Did he play at all this year for the Pirates?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
He got sent down when they brought up.
Edges. Why am I thinking of Matthias or something?
Mark Mathias was here earlier this year. He
Okay.
was like AAA guy.
So Chavis, I think he's on the Nationals, right?
Yeah,
You got Kevin Newman on the Reds.
yeah.
You got O'Neill Cruz, which he wasn't even there the whole year last year, and he hasn't been here this year. You got Hayes on third. He's
Yeah.
missed about a month. Ben Gamble in left field. Who knows where he's at? I think he's a free agent.
Nah, he's somewhere. He just got traded, I'm pretty sure, to maybe Tampa or the
Is he on
Padres.
the Mets?
No,
Maybe?
traded
No.
Tampa or the Padres or something like that.
Okay. So you got Reynolds, of course. And then in right field, you had Cal Mitchell, which I don't know where he's been.
Well, he can't throw a baseball from right field to
Yeah.
second base, so he shouldn't be anywhere.
And then DH is listed as Daniel Vogelbach
Yeah.
at last year's roster. And then some position names they have from last year. Sawinski that they still have. Castro, who he hasn't been up in a minute.
Well, he's hitting 4 for 39 in AAA with like 15 strikeouts, so
Yeah.
he'll be in Indy the rest of the year.
And then here's a blast from last year. Yoshi Satsugo, first baseman. Josh Van Meter. Tucapita Marcano. He's somewhere on here. Heineman. Has he played a little this year?
No.
No. Greg Allen. Remember him?
Yeah, stunk.
Bly Madris.
Stunk.
Michael Perez.
Stunk. Well,
Jake Marcinick.
stunk.
Roberto Perez.
Tore his shit and stunk.
Yeah. Wife's more famous, Cole Tucker.
Yeah.
Hoy Park.
Stunk.
Yu Chang.
Doing actually decent for the Red Sox this year, but
After a World Baseball Classic, right?
Yeah, stunk here.
Miguel Andujar.
Quad A player comes up and stinks, rakes the ball in AAA right now.
Ji-Won Bae, who did all right at the beginning of the year, and now he's just hurt.
Yeah.
Andrew Knapp, Zach Collins, Jose Godoy, Kevin Podlow, Travis Swaggerty, which he's DFA'd.
Yeah.
Cannon Smith Najigba, Anthony Alford, and Luvo Pagero. So that's who they've.
All of them basically stunk.
Yeah. So last year was just like a hodgepodge of players. Just looking up and down the list, these were guys that were just getting thrown in left and right. We've had less of that this year, so it's definitely an improvement. We'll have a more consistent roster. Last year, like, you're not going to see that. Like, going a year from now, you're not going to see that list of long names of crap that, we were looking at from last year to this point. But, brighter skies ahead, hopefully. We only have maybe a month plus left. Or how far do they go in September? About half?
I think about, probably a little, maybe first week. They do the September call-ups, and they get a little bit of a run. That's about it.
Yeah, so we'll get about a month and a half left of Bucco baseball, but we'll obviously be locked on the Steelers a little more at that point. So you'll see us making that transition from Bucco to Steelers here in about.
I did see a pretty funny. This guy was in a card break, and he had the Pirates, and the guy's breaking the box, and he's lifting up the card, and it's a 1 of 5 Topps Chrome autograph from the Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
I went crazy thinking it was O'Neal Cruz. They go up, it's Travis Swaggerty, like the only guy on the checklist who's not with the team. The guy's like, I'm sick. He's like, I'm sick. This is the worst I've ever pulled.
Yeah, that's bad. Where's he even at? Did the Pirates even claim him?
I don't know where he's
Did
at.
anybody claim him?
I'm going to look right now.
Because I know what happened to, who's the other guy that got Will Crow. I think he's back in the.
He's in AAA, yeah.
Yeah, he's back.
Swaggerty says he's a free agent.
So the Pirates didn't even bother to take him back after his DFA.
Or he just didn't want to go back in the system and just go to be a free agent. Yeah. Well, that's a waste of a first round pick.
We'll probably never see him again. So whatever.
Yeah.
You already said your Jag. I really don't have one. I can't think of one.
That's fair.
You ready to wrap it up? Buccos come on in like 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, I'm ready to watch some afternoon Sunday Bucco baseball.
All right, everybody. That's Youngzers, Season 2, Episode 2. Dan will be back next week. Thank you for listening, and let's go.